What is a trap house like? What is a trap house like? Unfortunately, I've been to trap houses. And if you don't know why they're called trap houses, because that's where the drugs be and that's where you go to get the drugs. And if you're a really bad addict, guess what? You never leave that house. And now you've fallen into the trap of the trap house. And this is my experience, just to explain to somebody kind of what a trap house is like, because it's cringe. And it shocks me when you look back at yourself and you look back at your life at some of these houses that you've been in and you're like, dude, what was I even doing there? And why would I even accept drugs from this person? Because it's not a sanitary, safe environment. It's not like you're going into a pharmaceuticals warehouse and they're pulling out, in their nice little rubber gloves, these different drugs. It's gross as hell. So this is my experience with trap houses. And this is what a trap house is like. If you're new to the channel, hit the like and subscribe button. What's up, guys? My name is Eric. And this is my experience with trap houses, because to me, trap houses to me were always the same. And if you've never been to a trap house, please don't ever go to one. Save yourself from it. I am not an addict. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm none of that. I was a professional addict. My drugs of choice was alcohol and cocaine. I did a lot of different drugs in the meantime, even with that, when it came to just psychedelics, it came to meth, it came to opiates, but cocaine was my drug of choice. Now, trap houses I had found typically didn't have a lot of coke. They were more of heroin, they were more of meth than I found almost anything else, because cocaine is not a cheap drug, where these other drugs were a little bit less expensive. In the trap houses that I went to, I mean, you could get coke from them, but they usually had other drugs with them too. And that's why more of the people were there, and I would want in and out as soon as I could if I had to resort to the point of going to a trap house. Going to a trap house, I mean, these are houses that you'll find in everyday neighborhoods that look normal. There's nothing out of the ordinary to make them look awesome. It's not great landscaping. The grass is usually mowed. There might be a couple plants outside and stuff, and it's not a bad, abandoned looking yard, but it's not the best. There's usually maybe a broken down car or two sometimes in the driveway, that fixer-upper. But the outside of this house doesn't look tremendously bad to the point that it really freaks you out of like, oh, dude, that's a trap house. They do not advertise that that's what it is. If you do pay attention with a lot of the houses, though, and you look around, you will find outside security cameras all over. Everybody, of course, when it comes to drugs, you have this mad paranoia of the cops and everyone's going to be busting down your door, or you're worried about just being held up. So there are cameras all over the place typically, and they usually have a locked screen door, one of those like metal doors, and then the door inside. And man, you always have to go up and you're like knocking on the door, or you're texting them like, hey, I'm here. You can always hear like the little like eye peephole thing and somebody back there, and next thing you know, all these deadbolts are unlocking. You get into this house and it is usually gross. There's nothing clean in a trap house. The outside looks all right, but the inside is a different story. I've never been into a trap house where I walked in and went, wow, dude, you guys have really done up the place. I've noticed that, it smells bad because the trash is never taken out. I mean, you have no idea how many trap houses that I've been in that there was like diapers and stuff. You use diapers all over the floor because they had a kid crying in a crib, and you're like, how do you have a kid in this environment? The kitchen area is usually thrashed and destroyed. There's these stoves and stuff are just nasty. And the reason I know all this is like I used to go into these places and just look around, and I didn't want to touch anything. I always had kind of an OCD thing where I didn't want to touch anything because I knew how disgusting it was. The trash bags are like the bags are overflowing. They're not tied. They're just spilling all over the place. And there's usually a couple, like if I was to break it down just to say, hey, this is what the stereotype of what I learned was, there's usually like 3 women there and there's like 4 dudes there. And then there'd be a baby there at least. That was like the usual trap house to me. Everybody kind of had their own room. I never went down to like any of the hallways, never wanted to go to anybody's rooms. And what I found is a lot of times either the drugs were always broke out at the kitchen table or they're broken out in the garage. And for some reason out in the garage at a majority of these houses where I found were all of the monitors and stuff to the video cameras that they had placed all over so that they could watch and see what's happening outside. Because I don't know why, but I think addicts have this impression that maybe if we did drugs in the garage, it doesn't seep into our house. I don't know what the mentality of that was, but usually majority of the time we're always going into the garage. And the garage is just boxes full of shit. There's always a desk. There's always a desk that the lacquer like finish on, it's just destroyed and it's sitting there. I don't know why. I think that's like, if you buy a trap house, it's mandatory that you put in a just beat up old desk in your garage and a bunch of old sofas and chairs. But that is essentially where everyone gets high, and you can look on the coffee table and you see pipes and you see all that shit sitting there. And that's where you get your drugs at, is in the garage, or you get it at the kitchen table. And it's amazing because everybody at like a trap house, I always found, was like lonely people, because they'd be like, hey, you want to do some of this with us? And it's like, not really. I really want to get out of here. I really don't want to be here anymore. And it's amazing to see people that are stuck in this environment, stuck in this way of life, that have no desire to get sober, no desire to change their life. You know that they're unhappy souls living there. Just looking back at it, it was like House of Hoarders, nastiness, disgustingness. And it was, you look at the people there and you could tell that they're addicts. You knew they were addicts. You knew they were struggling. You knew that they were suffering. There's nothing you could do about it. And you're there because you're an addict too. So it's not like you're there on a mission. Jehovah Witnesses, like, hey, let me save you from your addiction. You're looking around like, I need to get the fuck out of here. Because also a lot of times there were guns or anything of that sort, somewhat involved. Because again, when you're an addict, you have massive paranoia. So, I mean, a trap house environment is a nasty environment. It's a very dirty environment. Again, if you are out there struggling, ask for help, man. Reach out. Trust me, all your friends and family members know that you're an addict. They know that you need help. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm struggling. I want to get sober. I want to stop this insanity in my life. If you haven't hit the like and subscribe button, hit the like and subscribe button. Comment down below your experiences, because I think the more experiences that we share, the more that we share of what we go through with our addiction, the more it helps the one out there struggling and suffering through it, to know that they're not alone, to know that they can do this. So for the one out there doing it, one day at a time, you got this.